guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another unboxing, music unboxing. I've received a rather large parcel from Sonic Titan Records, which is an online site, and it's huge. It's a humongous box. I don't think the item's as big as this. Hopefully it should be Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band Super Deluxe Edition by the Beatles. Another one from my Beatles collection, because there's only two that I need. I needed this one and the White Album. The White Album is one that I haven't got on or put on my radar yet, just because the price is up there. It's about 170 to maybe nearly £200, so it's off my radar. But this one I picked up at a reasonable price. I can't remember now. It's probably around about sort of 70-ish. And like I said, I had a bit of eBay money on my eBay account. I tend to keep my balance on there for anything that I really want to buy. And when I've got enough, I then pick up what I want. And I've managed to pick up this box set. But it's huge. I don't think it's as big as that, but we will unbox it. The seller said it's new. I can't remember if he said it was sealed or unsealed, but he said it is new. It's from a record store, a record shop. So we're going to have a look. So let's not waste any time. Let's unbox and have a deep down look at the Beatles Sgt. Pepper Lonely Heart Club Band. So here we are, guys. Here is the box. So we're going to open it. It's so big it can hardly even fit on the screen here. So I don't think the box is that big. I think it must be the same size as like the Abbey Road one, so it's going to be like a 12-inch sort of size box set, but they've obviously really packaged it well. Lots of stickers on here: do not crush, bend or fold, fragile goods. Right, it's quite a weighty box, so I'm thinking that the book must be quite a weight, because it's going to be the similar style as the other box sets, I think, in the sense it's going to be with a hardback book. I believe it's got 4 CDs, a DVD and a Blu-ray, if I remember right. Right, so we'll open the box. Of course, box in a box, maybe. My receipt. Right, got my receipt. This is probably some of the greatest packaging I've ever seen. Look at all this. Wow. They wanted me to receive this in really good condition. Wow. Look at that. What is all this stuff? Oh, they've even sent me a... Oh wow, that's really cool. I think they've sent me like a thing that I can actually put my box in to keep it nice. That's really, really cool. So that was in the box, so we'll put that aside. So this is Sonic Titan Records. So I can recommend you to them, because I ordered this, what day are we today? Wednesday. I ordered this on Monday. It came Tuesday. It came yesterday. So it came within 24 hours. Quicker than Amazon. So here we are. Taped it up well and good, haven't they? I think this is one of the Beatles sets that's been a little bit pricey to get hold of. All the rest have been a little bit affordable. Everywhere I've looked at this, it's been quite expensive. I think there's probably a bit more content in this. We'll have a look. But it's an upgrade for me from my... this is the edition that I actually have at the moment of Sgt. Pepper, which is quite nice. It still comes with a really nice booklet about the album cover. So this is the edition that I have, and there's a CD in there on the Parlophone label.
So it's an upgrade. I will still keep this one because it's a part of my Beatles collection. So yeah, I've upgraded it from this version to the Super Deluxe CD. Just like the others. All the other ones I've brought, I do have as a normal edition. But this is I love them so much. And I just thinking, why am I not getting these incredible box sets while they're still, a lot of them were affordable. I mean, I bought Abbey Road one. It was about £69, but I've looked at it lately online and it's now like £100+. So I'm kind of glad I picked it up when I did. This packaging is above and beyond, really. It's very, very cool. And once again, we've got these. It's just keeps it protected, doesn't it? You know, very cool. So it looks like we're hopefully down to the last part. Yeah. So we should be able to run our scissor along here to get into the box. Bit more tape here, guys. There we go. I think we're finally in. Oops, sorry guys. And there she is. And there she is in this 3D cover. That's incredible. So let's take this out of the box and have a good look at it. So we're finally out of all the packaging. And here is the box set. It's mighty big. It's mighty cool. And it's in 3D. This is really cool. A little bit like the John Lennon Power to the People box set. Do you remember? That was in 3D. So I just think it's the outer case. It's just like got like a slip case on it, which is in this sort of style. It's very, very cool. And we've got a picture there on the cover of the Beatles, and it looks like the younger form of the Beatles there with all these sort of famous people around them. Very, very cool. Of course, Laura and Hardy, the obvious ones for me because more of my heroes. So cool. That looks like Oscar Wilde in there. Marlon Brando. There is information about who is actually on the cover inside, so it's really, really cool. It's an epic cover for the Beatles. So it wasn't sealed. They did say it's not sealed, but it is brand new. And on the back there we have the information what's on the disc. So it's an extensive collection, gives an unprecedented insight into how the Beatles made their groundbreaking album. The box set features a new stereo mix by Giles Martin and 33 tracks from Sgt. Pepper sessions that place you in the studio as a group developed their songs. It's got 4 CDs, a new stereo mix by Giles Martin, Sgt. Pepper sessions on 2 CDs with over 100 minutes of audio illustrating how the album was created, newly mixed from original 4-track tapes, mostly material previously unreleased. It also contains the original 1967 mono mix of the album. So we have the mono album, fantastic. So this album was made the year I was born, 1967. And plus bonus tracks including 3 previously unreleased mixes. Blu-ray DVD, we have a fully restored 1992 documentary, The Making of Sgt. Pepper, including interviews with Paul, George, Ringo, and fascinating in the studio footage introduced by George Martin. And it has the restored promotional films of A Day in the Life, Strawberry Fields Forever, and Penny Lane. Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields weren't on the album, but there were singles that were associated with the album because they came out around the same sort of period. And the Blu-ray also has a 5.1 stereo mix of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band and Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane. Also a 144-page hardback book, that's why it's so heavy, featuring an introduction by Sir Paul McCartney, comprehensive song-by-song details and recording information, and in-depth essays about the design of the cover and the album music innovation of this historical context, and so much more. Illustrations include photographs and recording sessions, handwritten lyrics from Abbey Road documents, plus a replica of the original card insert and 2 bonus posters. So there's quite a bit in there. So this is the album. When people talk about the Beatles as being there, you know, when people say to you, oh, that's their Sgt. Pepper album, you know, because this was looked upon as being there. To me, it was the album when they I know there was probably a lot of illegal substance going around. It's quite a psychedelic kind of album, but to me it was the album that changed their direction. I think the albums before, Rubber Soul and Revolver, I'm sure Revolver, was it before this? I'm not sure, but I know Rubber Soul was before this. I think that was the turning point. To me, Rubber Soul was the turning point when they matured and they started to lose that boy band pop look and turned into a rock band. That's just my humble opinion to me. But Sgt. Pepper and Rubber Soul, I think, were the turning points for the band, from being the pop song writing 2.5-minute pop songs into some rock songs, and produced some of the greatest music ever produced on this planet. And this is one of the albums of the turning point. So we're looking at Sgt. Pepper, Lonely Heart Club Band. So let's take off this slipcase. Okay, so it looks like an EMI tape box. So this is what they would record their songs on. And they would be on like a big reel tape inside. And that's how they used to do it. So this is pretty cool. I like this setup. It's very nice. They haven't just duplicated the sleeve. And on the back is the reverse of it, which is very, very cool. And I love that they got all this, making it look like authentically torn. Really cool. So it's set out like an EMI tape box, which is very, very cool. I might have to stand up to open this. Alright, so open it. It opens like this. Wow. So let's have a look at the content. So here we have, this might be the CDs. We'll open this one first. This could be the LP cover. This is the original album cover, and I think it's going to be housing our CDs. So I've just got to undo the cellophane because it's sealed up. This is what I'm trying to tell you. It's brand new. They just said the actual box wasn't sealed. I think the guy said what they did, they had it in store on the shelf, and some guy coming was going to buy it, wanted to see the content, so they had to open it so to let him have a look, and he didn't buy it. But because it wasn't sealed on the outside, it came to me at a little bit of a reduced rate. Because hey, this normally sells from about 90 to 100 plus. Normally, I got it for, I think, just under 70. So we'll take that off. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So I think these are going to be the discs. Whoops, they've all sort of come out. Let me make sure I get them into the right place. That one goes in there. and that one goes in there. Right, so just like all the other Beatles sets, they've all come in their individual covers, which is fantastic. And we've got all the discs, and right down here we have the track listings down there. So I can sit down again for a second. So let's dig this one out. This is CD1, which will be the new stereo mix of the album. So the original album track listing is Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band, With a Little Help from My Friends, Lucy in the Sky of Diamonds, Getting Better, Fixing a Hole, She's Leaving Home, fantastic track. Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite, Within You, Without You, When You're 64, Lovely Rita, Good Morning, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band reprise, and A Day in the Life. All tracks are written by Lennon and McCartney, except were indicated written by George Harrison. Recording produced by George Martin. New stereo mix by Giles Martin. It's going to be on the Parlophone label. Yeah. So this is before Apple. They were on the Parlophone. Fantastic. So that's the stereo mix. So disc 2, I think it's disc 1 of these sessions, I believe. So this is disc 2, Sgt. Pepper Sessions. We have Strawberry Fields Forever, take 1, 2, 3, take 1, 4, 7 and 26. Strawberry Fields Forever, the stereo mix of the new stereo mix, which I think the stereo mix of Strawberry Fields and the stereo mix of Penny Lane, which are on here, they should have just put on the end of the original album, because it would have been nice to have had them all on one disc. But there we go, they've put them on here. When I'm 64, take 2. Penny Lane, take 6, instrumental. Penny Lane, vocal, recordable and speech. Penny Lane, stereo mix 2017. A Day in the Life, take 1 and 2. A Day in the Life, orchestra, overdub. A Day in the Life, Hammond, last chord, take 8, 9, 10, 11. A Day in the Life, last chord. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band, take 1, instrumental. Take 9 with speech, take 1, instrumental. And Good Morning, take 8. This is what I was telling you about with the difference between this and the George Harrison box set. You have multiple versions of certain tracks, which is interesting, but I quite like it when it's not. But I do love that it's a variant of the original cover. They've kept the original cover, I think, on the album, but all the others are different variants of it, which is really nice. Very cool. This is going to be the next session disc on the Parlophone label, disc 3. This has Fixing a Hole, take 1, Fixing a Hole, speech and take 3. Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite, speech before take 1, take 4 and speech at the end. Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite, take 7. Lovely Rita, take 9. Lucy in the Sky Diamonds, take 1 and speech at the end. Lucy in the Sky Diamonds, speech, false start and take 5. Getting Better, take 1, instrumental and speech at the end. Getting Better, take 12. Within You, Without You, take 1 with Indian instruments. Within Without You, George cracking the musicians, coaching the musicians, cracking the musicians. Going to give them some crack, is he? Then we've got 2 instrumental versions of She's Leaving Home. With a Little Help from My Friends, take 1. Full Start and take 2, instrumental. Sgt. Pepper Lonely Heart Club Band's reprise, speech and take 8. And again, some of these tracks will probably have been on the anthology. Disc 4 is going to be the original album in mono. So this is the mono album 1967 mix plus bonus tracks. So we have Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band, with a little help from my friend, Lucy in the Sky Diamonds, Getting Better, Fixing a Hole, She's Leaving Home, Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite, Within You Without You, When I Was 64, Lovely Rita, Good Morning, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band Reprise, and A Day in the Life with the bonus tracks, which is what they should have done with the stereo one, Strawberry Fields Forever, Penny Lane, A Day in the Life first mono mix, Lucy in the Sky of Diamonds original mono mix, She's Leaving Home first mono mix, and Penny Lane Capitol Records US promo mix. So they're all the tracks that are on this box set. The Blu-ray has audio content, and it also has the Blu-ray of the making of Sgt. Pepper on video, and it has videos of A Day in the Life, Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane. But you have the album in its 5.1 edition with Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane at the end. Again, they should have been on disc 1. And that's in the sort of emblem of the Sgt. Pepper's drum. And the DVD, I think it's going to be exactly the same as the Blu-ray, but it's for people that don't have a Blu-ray player. Yes, so it's exactly the same on DVD, which is pretty cool. But most people that buy this would have had the Blu-ray. But there we go. Still nice to have been in there. Really cool. Fantastic. Like I said, the only thing I would have changed in this set would have taken Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane new stereo mixes and popped them on the end of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band. Just would have been nice to have had them all on one disc, so you could listen to that whole album with the 2 extra tracks on the end. But they didn't. That's how they done it. So that's cool. But this is set out originally exactly like the album cover, because the album cover had the lyrics on the back, and that's just obviously different inner sleeve. It's different in the inside because now we've got that. But that's really, really cool. Great production there. So that's cool. Then we have a poster. Sgt. Pepper. Oh, God. So want to put this on my wall, but again I don't. New Beatles album, Here Now. So this would have been in a record shop. That would have been displayed up in the record shop, probably in the window or on the wall. So advertising the new Beatles album. Very cool. And Paul's watch there. Fantastic. Great poster. I don't think it's double-sided. No, it's not. It's just single-sided poster. Is this the second poster? So Pablo Fanique's Circus Royale, Town Meadow, Rochdale. The grandest night of the season. Last night but there. Benefits of Mr. Kite. That's pretty cool. Quite unique. I do like that. Obviously fitting around the song about Mr. Kite. So that's cool. We have another sheet here of like the Sgt. Pepper cutouts, which obviously I'm not going to cut out, but yeah, you could cut them out, fold that and make a little display somewhere, but I'm not doing that. That was in the original album cover, I believe. And then last but not least is this almighty book, I believe, which again is sealed. So let's move this stuff out the way and we will get down and have a look at the book. So here's the book. What an epic box set, guys. It's not my favourite Beatles album. I mean, you know Abbey Road is to me. But this is one of those albums that I weren't that keen on at the time. I think it's because a lot of the songs on it have been covered by other people. I know that sounds silly, but when I was younger I just didn't really get into it. But as I've got older, this album's really grown on me. So, very cool book. It does say on the front there, you can just about make it out, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band on the front. Nothing on the back, apart from the Apple logo, which is weird because this is on Parlophone, but there we go. So we'll open the book, make sure we've got it all on, so we can see it all. There we go. Some nice variations there on a sort of combat design there. There are the lads. Ringo, John, Paul and George. Wonderful. Very, very bright booklet. So, this is our contents. I'll do it. We've got an introduction, which is by Paul, coming up first. That's cool. I think, I don't know, yeah, I can't remember, guys. Was Revolver before or after this? I can't remember. I really can't remember. It might have even been the same year. Or Yellow Submarine. Yellow Submarine might have been the same year. So here's our introduction from Paul. And this was written in 2017. It's Paul and George Martin there. It says, George Martin says that Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band didn't start out as a concept album, but it very soon developed its life of its own. I remember it warmly as both a tremendous challenge and highly rewarding experience. For me, it was the most innovative, imaginative and trend-setting record of its time. And it still is. It still is. This was almost like one of the first sort of concept albums that sort of created the concept album that a lot of bands in the 70s, especially prog bands, tend to have grabbed and took under their wing. The Path of the Pepper, written by Kevin Howlett. So what the hell's a Petter? I don't know. Dear Alan, since I wrote to you a day or so ago, rumour is rife here in London concerning the Beatles. We're unable to determine just what is the real truth, but what worries me is old saying that there is never smoke without fire. Just for interest, I enclose a copy of an article which appeared in the Daily Mail and Telegraph on last Tuesday. I will of course keep you advised of any developments. L.G. Wood. He's obviously from Capitol Records in America. Beatles may not appear as a group again. So they thought that the Beatles had split up. But hey ho, here comes Sgt. Pepper. That's a great picture there, them rehearsing. Ringo on the bongos there. We were changing our methods of working at that time, and instead of now looking for catchy singles, it was more like writing your novel. So I'm trying to tell you that they sort of changed. This was their changing sort of period. This and Revolver, they sort of matured and became this incredible film. I think it all changed though with Rubber Soul, because that had a bit more of a very mature sound than like I said, than the 2.5 minute catchy pop songs. In the studio, they're rehearsing. Some great pictures here. Another wonderful box set. It had to be just right. We tried and I think succeed, achieving what we set out to do. If we hadn't, then wouldn't be out now. John Lennon. Well, yeah, gathered that, John boy. Another letter concerning that from L.G. Wood there. I think this is him saying they're worried about the sound of the single, which would have been Strawberry Fields, because it didn't sound like the other Beatle tracks. They think, oh, is this going to be not commercial enough? the London Underground. Wow, I love that picture. That would be an amazing poster. That's at Abbey Road Studio in 1967. This is why I love these box sets, guys, because when I sit there and I listen through the CDs, I sit there with this on my lap and I read, you know, part of these wonderful things as I'm listening to it. I think that period felt special because that was a great upsurge of energy and consciousness, and there was no much attention given to not just the Beatles but everything that had taken place, all the changes that were taking place. George Harrison. I love that they've included quotes from the band. It was colourful, it was peace, it was love, and it was music. Ringo Starr. Fantastic. What a quote. Good old Ringo, straight to the point. The World in 1967. So these are the essays going on there. It's in New York about the Vietnam War. This is telling you what's going on around in 1967 around the world while the Beatles were busy making their album. Here's like a timeline. Pretty cool. Going day by day. The 4th of January this year, the Doors released their first album in the US. That's pretty cool. It's all this sort of information, not just about the Beatles, but it's attachment to what happened in this year when it was being made. Great picture, but again spoilt by the way it's been put out in the sort of like in the middle there. Songs and re-recording details. So this is going to be a breakdown of the songs, no doubt, with some original sheets of lyric writing. Little Help from My Friends, again it tells you through here. Lead singer on Little Help My Friends was of course Ringo. Lucy in the Sky Diamonds was, I believe, John Lennon sang that one. Getting Better would have been Paul. Fixing the Hole would have been Paul as well, I think, on lead vocals. Yep, Paul. She's Leaving Home. Fantastic. It was a joint with John and Paul. Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite was John Lennon on vocals. Wow, some great pictures there. I love these. Yoko there in the back. Great picture of George and Ringo. Fantastic. Ringo's dress sense, man. What are we on now? Within You, Without You. That was George on vocals and sitar. I think that was just solely George on that track, to be honest. When I Was 64 was Paul. Lovely Rita was Paul. Good Morning is John on lead vocals. Sgt. Pepper was Paul and John and George and Ringo. Day in the Life, I believe, was John and Paul, because John sang two parts of because it's almost like a song of three sections. John sings the first part, Paul sings the middle, and then John sings the last part. It is a great track, and this goes into the history of the track A Day in the Life. The Run Out Groove. Speech. here we have some more of the tape boxes. And now the extra track Strawberry Fields Forever, which was sung by John. And this tells us the history of Strawberry Fields Forever. Penny Lane was sung by Paul. Some more lovely tape boxes. The Musical Revolution. Aren't these books just magnificent? If we're not listening to, or we can't even hear ourselves, then we can't improve. So we're trying to get better with things like recording. That's a quote from Paul McCartney. Recording the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band was at Abbey Road, St John's Wood. Been there. You may have seen me pictures of me walking over the Abbey Road zebra crossing. This looks like John's work here. I wish they would put, oh no, it's George's diary. That's from George's diary. So I wish they put what it's from, but it does say very lightly there, George's diary. So that's actually George did that. It just looks like something that John would do. The cover story. So this is the story of the album cover, which is an absolute sort of phenomenal, sort of like world epic cover, isn't it? Really, really cool. So they've had loads of cutouts of the people done, and they stood in front of them with like a drum and all the sort of flowers and the basket with the creepy doll in it. Wow, they're the lads. I just love them. They're just wonderful. It breaks my heart a lot of time when I think of them. You know, we lost George to illness sadly, and John's life was just taken. You know, he was murdered and it was just taken from us. Could you imagine what could have maybe have happened if these guys were still about? I bet you they would have done something by them. And here we have a breakdown of everybody that is in that on the cover, which is really, really cool. I love that they've put the Beatles on there as well, like we need to know who they were. But that's really cool. I think they did that as well in the older version. I think in the booklet there is a breakdown in that as well of it. It's a black and white version there. Was that Billy Preston at the end there? Looks like it. I think this is it. Was this going to be the artwork? Could have been possibly that might have been what might have been an option for the album artwork. And then we have an advert for the Beatles. Remember, the Beatles new Parlophone LP on sale now. Sgt. Pepper arrives. So this was about the release of the album and its reception when it came out. I think it did really well, to be honest. Sgt. Pepper in America. So this is when it got its American release. So Mr. Elwood would be quite happy. One that went down as well there that it did here. So there's the album release. So that would have been the album cover. With the picture that we just seen would have been in the gatefold. Which we just saw the boys. That would have been inside the gatefold sleeve. Can't find it now, but anyway. And then that would have been the inner sleeve, and that's the cutout which we also have in this set, which is fantastic. And there we go. Sgt. Pepper reaching gold in America. Capitol Records, Parlophone here in the UK. And then we just got the lyrics of the song, which, yeah, we don't really need them because they're on back of the album cover. But yeah, it just fills out the book a bit more and makes it complete. There we go, really cool. And that's the book. That's wonderful, isn't it? Right, so let's get your box back. Right, let's make sure we got our cord right. So we got that to be able to lift things out. So we pop the book in. There's the original cardboard cutouts, some posters, and the original album made for the CDs to sit in its original form. And they all go back in the EMI tape box, which we can then slip in back into the amazing 3D Lencher sort of cover. And that is a very close look at the Super Deluxe edition of the Beatles Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band. So here we go, guys. What another big long video, but wow, what an amazing release of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band. It is a great album. It is a classic, and a lot of people look at it as the best Beatles album. I think because it was so groundbreaking for its time. You know, it was a concept album which people didn't really hear of. The only probably concept albums you may have got would have probably been maybe some jazz albums in that time, or some sort of spoken word albums or things like that. But this was a pop band. You know, they just made the first part of the 60s. They just made probably the greatest pop songs that have been written by any songwriter ever, and all 2.5 minute pop, great melodies, catchy tracks that people loved and turned them into icons around the world. But being musicians don't particularly like to look back. They like to look forward and move forward and progress and do things different. And I think with Rubber Soul, which I think came out before this, I'm not clear on my Beatles history. Revolver, I'm not sure. I think it might have even been the same year. Let me have a quick look, just so I've got some sort of facts a little bit right, so I don't look a complete and utter plonker. But I was saying, those three albums, I think, changed the face of the Beatles. I think it was their maturing period, where they just changed their sound, and they changed that they were more open to not just making pop songs, I think. So here we go, the Beatles discography. Let's have a quick look. Let me see if I can get something right. Albums. So 64, Beatles for Sale. Rubber Soul was 65. Revolver was 66. I was right. So those two albums were before Sgt. Pepper, which was 67. Then we had the White Album, and then we had Yellow Submarine, then we had Abbey Road, and then we had Let It Be in 1970. So I was right. Rubber Soul and Revolver was their mature albums. I think obviously Rubber Soul still had some of the pop tracks attached to it, but they had some of their most famous songs like Michelle on that sort of time. But I love Norwegian Wood because it was so different. And then they released Revolver, which I think is more of an influential album. I think it was an album that went on to influence many bands, and a lot of music magazines, Q, Mojo, whatever, all put that as one of the greatest albums ever made. But then the public took to this and said this is the greatest album ever made, and everybody looked at it as like a landmark of an album. Like if you're in a band and you do various albums, they always say to you, what is your Sgt. Pepper album? I mean, what is your landmark? What is your album that was your turning point? And not maybe most popular, but your album that was your landmark that you wanted to do. And I think this was the album that they wanted to do.
at that time, and it was just absolutely amazing. And this, I've got to put it down because it weighs a ton, and it's absolutely incredible album. Yeah, so that was a closer look at it, and I'm so glad to have it in my collection. Like I said, I think it's perfect. The only thing I would change on it, like I said to you, was when we got the new stereo mix CD, I would have put the new stereo mix of Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane on the end of that disc, just so I can listen to the whole album and the two singles that were semi-attached to the album in one go, rather than have to listen through 4 or 5 outtakes of Sgt. Pepper before I get to that remix album, that track. It just would have been nice of them to add it onto there, but I'm not in charge of anything. But it's really cool, guys. See you soon.